Dude, wow. Hold on. These are AI generated tunes. Let's see what the next one is. This is nuts. I haven't listened to this one yet, though. That is hot. Oh my god. All right, let's see what the next one is. After this, we'll get started, but. Oh, that was all that one has. But GM, that's just banging. I just wrote 4 songs in 2 minutes with AI. But how you doing, Farmer Joe? How does it feel to be part of the latest, hottest track on Spotify?
I thought there was a track that someone made with with the Farmer Joe reference, Ordinals, KC. I forget what it was. Maybe one day we can pull that up as like the intro, because once in a while I still go back to it because it's an absolute banger. Actually forget who made it. But it was it was definitely like the mood of last year in a lot of ways. Sorry, I'm just inviting all of the runes cabals, basically the pups cabal is here alive and well, because I see a bunch of puppet PFPs, and I like it a lot. But I just invited the psycho cabal. I invited the Zbit army. I don't know who else I can invite. I'm in a bunch of these group chats. Maybe we'll try and get the Billy army to come in. Let's see. Hold on. I don't think I'm
All
in
right,
that
you
call.
keep cooking. I'm gonna
All right.
just sit down and write another song. Oh, here's another one I just wrote.
Sorry. What
Uh,
what exactly is going on? You're just writing tracks and it auto generates them.
yeah, I'm just using AI and saying that I made it because it helps my ego. But
You should write a Pups AI song.
I know that's what I just did.
All right.
All right.
I'm
Let's
waiting
see what
for
it
it.
does. All right. All right. Give me what? Someone give me a line. Or who else is up here? I have prompt. Or no, fuck. I'm not gonna tell you what I'm gonna prompt.
I can give you some lines. The
Okay.
prophecy is 13 billion. Pups goes up. Ups. Sorry. World peace. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. No.
Get creative.
Prophecy. No, that's great. I had. All right, we're almost there, folks. Okay, here's another one that just kind of came out of nowhere. Building on Bitcoin with Farmer Joe and Bunzy, and how it's powered by Arch Network. Come together and go full puppets. Today we achieve world peace. Today we achieve world peace. I mean, beats hot. I think I need to get my lyric prompts better. I think I need to like pour some lean on my computer and get it a little bit more like a little bit more swaggy. But yeah, no, I'm pumped for today. I was bummed I missed the last one. It seemed like I wasn't here, and then all the cool kids
You
came.
gotta listen into the last one, sir, because we were cooking.
No.
Anyways, let's cut the pre-show open mic session and get right to it. So GM. Look, we're here with Bitcoin builders. We're kind of recapping everything going on in Bitcoin. What's coming, what's here, what people are vibing with, and I think the hottest theme of the last couple of weeks. Well, let's call it the last week or so because it hasn't been a couple of weeks just yet. But yeah, it seems like all attention from Fractal has certainly diminished. I think those who are holding fractal bags being priced in FB has scared them off and got them back to the mother chain, and they realize that pricing your fungibles and sats is the only winning solution. I think in a lot of ways people feel similarly on Ethereum with altcoins. Having your assets priced in ETH down only. Solana, eh, pretty good, pretty good. I'm fairly optimistic in that as well, but there's no better place than having things priced in stats, and I think that's kind of why we're all here. Yeah. Look, Bunzi, I don't know if you missed the last show or had a chance to, or I know you missed the last show, but I don't know if you had a chance to take a gander at it. But last show we were kind of all raging about everyone's bags going up, and we don't even have AMM swaps. Magic Eden today announced that, or Chartfu at least announced that Magic Eden is going to have swaps coming soon. It feels like that's going to be coming from the bids order book. Robert, I know you pinged me separately on this not that long ago. Obviously, Xverse already has trustless swaps in app through many of the platforms. Another really interesting one that's coming out soon is Runes Dex. Kind of alpha on that is they're coming out with an AMM with the semi-custodial approach for liquidity pools, but it's going to be fully integrated into Xverse. It's going to be an AMM front end as well. So better solutions are coming. And I think in a lot of ways we're welcoming a lot of that thing. But yeah, Robert, I kind of wanted to get your take on this swaps post from Magic Eden. I suppose the logic here is it's all coming from the bids order book. Is that your understanding?
Yeah, that's my understanding. So Magic Eden shipped bids on top of runes, and now it's available for all rune tickers. And this feature is going to be powering their new swaps tool. Honestly, for what it's worth, I don't see this like severely moving the needle. I think the biggest friction or biggest pain point people have today is actually around sniping on purchase. So if and when they solve that, like that will be the biggest like change I think for the space. Because right now, like if you look at pretty much any ticker, everything's going up to the right. All of these like purchases near the floor are just getting sniped like repeatedly. It's just an absolute war zone near the cheapest pricing, the cheapest trades that go through. So once sniping is solved, that will be the sort of like big friction point that's solved. As far as swaps go, Xverse has had this for I think well over a month now. So you've been able to like swap in and out of tokens with ease through Xverse. So I think that's a bit of a sort of like nothing burger personally. I don't know if that really moves the needle. I think people are just tired of getting snipes on the way in when they buy their runes.
All right. Yeah, no, appreciate your take there, sir. I think, sniping kind of ties into the HBO special that, those who know how RBF works inside and out seem to be Satoshi. So, I kind of made a post, a parody on their take, is that between you, Quarry, and LIFO, I don't think that there's anyone that actually understands RBF at a mechanical level better than maybe Peter Todd does. I know you and Peter Todd, aka Satoshi, have been talking. So I wanted to know if this is all just a front and he's taking the hit for you, being the actual Satoshi. No, I'm just joking. All things to say, look, we have a huge amount of volume on runes right now. I'm just looking at it. 1 day volume on Billy is 14 BTC, Dog 8.5. this Ribbit, Magic Fortune, Open Mint, Free Mint, Frog Token. Yeah, like that's 6 BTC, Psycho, Pups, kind of collectively another 10 BTC between those two. And I think how much of these volumes, I know you kind of keep track of mempool sniping pretty actively, but how much of this has been kind of interfered at a percentage level? Because it seems like that would be a massive friction point for anyone kind of coming into this ecosystem, where they see and they don't really see that their transaction has failed, right? It's kind of if you know type of thing. You got to double check.
Honestly, I couldn't imagine like using Magic Eden to buy runes. It's just like, and just using Magic Eden to buy runes, by the way, like it would just be such a horrendous experience. I understand why like kind of normies or like non, you know, diehard rune / ordinal people like feel about this, because it's so horrendous. Like you go to Magic Eden, you click buy, you have absolutely no idea why it keeps failing like time and time again. Like there's not much context that they give you. And yeah, like it makes sense that people were pissed off, but when everything is kind of ripping like this, I think people don't care as much. They just go and they click buy again. Because we do see this like even on other chains, say like even Solana or Ethereum, when the liquidity pools are thin, it your orders do fail actually, even on these like really lightning fast chains. So full RBF is just kind of the same thing. It's just MEV canceling your order. Like the reasoning and who profits from it differ obviously, but under the hood, like your transaction is getting canceled because it was too cheap, right? Or too expensive, I guess. I
Yeah,
forget how we got here, but
and I think Magic Eden actually does let you kind of fee bump your transactions. So, I wouldn't say that there isn't some level of transparency. There is a notification. That being said, you have to be by your computer, basically sitting for the whole 10-minute block to verify that your order went through. Which, from a user experience perspective of buying things, isn't really how people want it to work. But obviously we have Bitcoin and it's 10-minute block time, so it's just kind of how we're going to sit through this for the better part of now. The other part that we kind of mentioned on our last episode is obviously, like the Coinbase asset part of things. I think someone corrected me by saying that they don't actually have to enable Taproot to custody runes and ordinals themselves. I guess I guess that is kind of true, isn't it?
wait, sorry, say that last part again.
So they mentioned to me that the Coinbase asset custody account or Coinbase Trust account or whatever the one that said that they were able to support Taproot as a wallet address. I guess just thinking about this a little bit more critically, this isn't necessarily a requirement to have ordinals or runes. They could just be doing this in a legacy wallet this whole time, right?
Yes, but we love the hopium. I
Okay.
mean, come
All
on,
right.
come on. The whole community loves a little bit of juice here. And for what it's worth, it is a hard technical blocker, right? I'm assuming their Bitcoin infrastructure is shared across the entirety of their, like backend infrastructure, and they would need Taproot address support on the withdrawal process to safely withdraw your ordinal or rune assets from their platform into a non-custodial wallet, right? So from that standpoint, it's actually a fair thing to say that this is a blocker for runes and ordinals. Had they been saying this for a while? Yes, they've definitely been saying they've definitely published that they were working on this problem since as early as like last year, Q1, Q2 of last year. So they have said this for a while, even pre-ordinals, or excuse me, pre runes rather. But I think the community loves a bit of opium, and for what it's worth, I don't think even Binance you can withdraw to a Taproot address, although I'm not sure that's accurate. But a lot of exchanges still do not support Taproot addresses for withdrawal. So this is definitely a step in the right direction, and I, as much as anyone, hope that Coinbase does support our bags.
Yeah, no, appreciate the take. I think in a lot of ways people don't realize this, but the custodian aspect to a lot of these centralized exchanges is actually oftentimes a third party as well that has systems in place. So, Coinbase and centralized exchanges in general, they're leveraging proper custodial or custody systems that are built by others. So I think someone actually commented under my post as well, saying I think I forget who it was. Who's the biggest custodian? Is it BitGo? I think someone commented the CEO of BitGo or something like that. But yeah, Matt, welcome. I know you've kind of been dealing with a hurricane, sir. But it sounds like you're in one piece, or I haven't heard your voice yet, so I don't know if you're in one piece, but you're certainly here with us.
GM, yeah, heading back from Orlando right now. Lots of traffic, everyone trying to get home. Although there are some cars in front of me with some Venice license plates, so they probably got a little worse than I do at the moment. Heading back to Tampa, where I think it was not so bad in relation to some other areas south of us. So grateful for that for sure. But just to add to the Coinbase discussion, is it possible that we're maybe thinking about it a little too focused on ordinals and runes, and less so on from the perspective that they want to allow users who custody their Bitcoin with Coinbase and them having this new CBBTC product? Is it possible that allowing users to have Taproot wallet addresses, it's more to allow them to participate in more DeFi activities with their Bitcoin that's in Coinbase custody? Like, for example, being able to loan Bitcoin out on Liquidium or bridge over to Fractal, for example, something like that. Is it possible that that's more of the intention there, or is it truly something to incrementally improve their integration with runes and ordinals?
I'll give the Hopium take on this. For what it's worth, the majority of Bitcoin users, and I don't have the exact numbers, but the vast majority of Bitcoin users leverage SegWit addresses. And Taproot is a massive minority. Even like in the Ordinals ecosystem, many of the popular wallets do not support Taproot payment addresses, right? Xverse, Lether, Matchkey Wallet, all of these platforms, when you buy something with Bitcoin, like on a exchange, you use the SegWit address as the payment address. So that's kind of the Hopium case, is that if they're adding withdrawal support for a very minority used address type, that is traditionally associated now with ordinals and runes transactions, then it does give us hope that they could that this could just be like an incremental step in the direction of Coinbase support for ordinal runes, etc.
Yeah, no, Matt.
But when you use Liquidium, which wallet are you using? Are you using SegWit or using Taproot?
So you're using if you're supplying Bitcoin, you're using the SegWit address. Like whether you're using Matchkey to buy an ordinal or you're using Liquidium to lend on a rune or ordinal, you're using the SegWit address as the payment address. That is told to you by Xverse or Matchkey wallet or whatever. Right? These are all SegWit addresses.
Yeah, and kind of the reasoning I think they set it up like that is for security, because you can send ordinals to legacy SegWit, it just won't get flagged, and that's why people, when they're panning for rare sats, sometimes they pull out ordinals and things of that nature. So yeah, it's interesting. I think it definitely points in the direction of Coinbase obviously identifying these assets, setting themselves up to display them, because yeah, I mean, there's definitely a market for it, and they're rolling into wrapped Bitcoin themselves. So I think it's super bullish for it.
Yeah, no, I can resonate that. On the topic of hot runes, one of the most interesting ones that actually came about, I think it might have been yesterday, but we're probably going to see more and more people try and build these decentralized communities similar to Dog, where it's open, fair launch. The Ribbit Magic Fortune one is actually interesting. I kind of like how they put together like an article on their ethos of no team, no pre-mine. They're just kind of like gonna let it go where it sees fit. And it's been like very positively received actually. I think in terms of like a rune, we had a dog. We have a cat. I think the only thing that we were missing really is a frog, and this ribbit thing is most certainly complementary to the animal kingdom of memes themselves.
What a sound investment thesis.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
like we
look,
have we have a cat, we have a
we
dog.
got to we got to be pretty
Uh,
crazy to be believing in animal meme coins. But that's
I mean, there was the food. There was a lot of food being served up during sushi and pancake swaps. So I think these animals now need to eat some
yeah.
food.
Look, this is as crazy as those people sounded, they were most definitely right for a foreseeable amount of time. Um, I think we'll be right for longer, simply because meme coins aren't going anywhere really, and in a lot of ways, like I these things allow you to think a lot more. Like I guess fortunately, for a lot of people, where you can buy with some level of intent at this point in time. There's not many other chains where you have a meme coin go from 0 to 2 million very slowly, or 0 to 60 million, or 0 to 100 million at a very slow, I guess, somewhat eerie but comfortable pace. It obviously doesn't help, I suppose, or doesn't hurt that selling is still quite challenging. So it's like a forced hodl, fake it till you make it until a centralized exchange, I guess, notices and really gives the volume and depth in the order book itself. But yeah, I guess I'm just kind of like thinking about this. In most people trading on Bitcoin, or meme coin trading, or collecting, minting, etc., is actually quite a bit different than other chains in terms of velocity, right? Like you have, only 37 pending buys on this Ribbit Magic Fortune thing right now, and that's within a 10-minute block. Whereas like on Solana, you might have, I guess, sometimes even thousands of purchases in a 10-minute span of time. Um, so in some ways, Solana is a much more efficient meme coin market, because I think we were talking about this yesterday, but there was a guy called Lieutenant, what was it, Lieutenant Dan? And the moment that he became an internet meme, there was a Solana token on Pump Fund that came out, and everyone was kind of gambling on the fact that if he dies, it's bullish; if he lives, it's bearish. Um, I mean, this is
Right, yeah, yeah. I mean, you gotta just like, you gotta love it. That is
I mean, you
insane,
can't
but it's
really
the
do that on
reality we live.
Bitcoin. Things move way too slow to do something like this on Bitcoin. Is the
Yeah,
case.
I mean, if he dies, like 10 minutes, there's too much time there. Like,
No, Bunsey, doesn't it remind you of that episode of Silicon Valley when like they have the guy who's like replacing the bird's nest or whatever, but then he like gets trapped and he has to drink his own piss or whatever. But like, the more heinous things that happen to him, the more views that their beta got for their video chat or Piper chat or
yeah,
whatever. It's too
dude,
funny.
it's middle out, dude. That's how we're gonna solve RBF, and
100%. We're in the middle
it's
of it, that's for sure.
no, it is interesting, but like it's super easy to kind of compare to Solana and be like, look at the volume difference. But like just a healthy reminder, like a lot of that is bot activity, because there's a lot of money to be made and there's not the fee barrier, So what I mean by that is on Solana to do 1,000 transactions internally to make the token perceived like it's pumping is a viable option for some teams or market makers. Where on Bitcoin, the fee, aka the spam reducer, like all these are buys are, signal to real users and participants, which is bullish because fees really reduce that factor. And another kind of, because I've been like really bearish on DeFi with Bitcoin, just from like being a very harsh critic of like, how far can we take this before, you know, the pot is big enough for people to really start to attack it? Because I'll get to that later, but I guess what I'm getting at here is comparing it to Solana numbers doesn't make sense. But the one big perk that I've been seeing and kind of lately identifying is like you can start doing a lot more spot and like a lot more tradings without using custodial platforms. Like you can buy a batch of runes and then just stagger out your DCA out. What I mean by that is like, you know, split it into 5 different chunks and price each one of those. And you're not using a custodial kind of centralized exchange to do these spot sales, which I think is like a huge perk of runes while you still like remain, you know, there's no middleman there. But I do really want to dissect the Magic Eden approach. And I do think it's a step in the right direction. But how long do we think this is going to last? Because Magic Eden is attaching a fee. There's no incentive or, you know, LP being distributed for the people offering the bids or the people providing it. How long do we think that that zone's going to last? And I don't know. I think they're uniquely positioned to do it because they have all the attention. And it's ironic to me because OKX and Unisat have 0% marketplace fees, and people are still using Magic Eden with this fee. I don't know. I just think it's quite crazy how it's all panning out. But how long, I guess to wrap this up, is how long do you think this section with no incentive for LP providers will last on Magic Eden?
Well, look, I think the better question here is like, Matt, like, when do you see Saturn launching? You know, I know we have Dylan from Bitflow from the audience launching as well, which is providing an alternative to, you know, this solution as well. And I think there's another team called RuneStex, which is going to be launching sometime in the next 2 weeks or so, with more of a dot swap competitor with a different front end. So, you know, the race to having a good AMM for runes on Bitcoin is certainly there. It's just a matter of which approach are we going to take? Are we going to find this balance of, you know, trusting a custodial wallet, much like we see with DotSwap? I'm not particularly convinced just yet on that side of things, primarily because, you know, we haven't seen the liquidity pools on DotSwap actually generate enough substance to them. You know, they certainly generate a reasonable amount of fees per se, but it's still like a trust element that I think most people, you know, at size, scale, whales, and so forth, they don't really want to be trusting a multi-sig for liquidity providing. So obviously, you know, Matt, you guys are proposing a much better solution where things remain entirely on chain. And I'm actually, you know, quite hopeful for it. But I just, yeah, maybe if you can give a bit of an update on like the Saturn team. I'm actually talking to one of the guys that's there. Maybe he can jump right up or join in as well to give some progress updates as well.
Yeah, I'd love to talk on behalf of Saturn. If they're in the audience, they can come on and talk. And certainly I'd love to get Dylan up to on stage to talk about Bitflow, as they've been crushing it on stacks more recently. And of course, I think they'll you know, see a good product through on the base layer as they begin to integrate into Arch. But I think that, like you said, there's just going to have to be some, like, if we want to build deep liquidity, which is really the, you know, base piece of critical architecture in DeFi. There's going to have to be some comfortability with some trust assumptions, unless you want to continue to do the more peer-to-peer style, which you have the option.
Oh, Matt,
To do so.
you're rugging a bit there.
You know,
Yeah, you're coming through on a multi-sig.
order book style.
Matt's on 10-minute block times here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, he's waiting. We're waiting for a few more multi-sig like to get your voice through. But try again real quick. But you're kind of rugging.
Testing. Can you hear me?
You're good now.
Multi-sig complete.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, we're good.
Yes, sir. You're good. I think.
All
Oh, yeah.
right. This is why we like layer one Bitcoin. And that's kind of ultimately like, it's not, there's no like guessing why we're here, right? The value proposition for Bitcoin is the security layer. And then we start to use these pretend D letter words on some of these approaches, and people wonder why there's not a bunch of people adopting it. Like the crowd in Bitcoin is critical, and they're here for a certain reason. They're not here by accident. If you want a meme coin, there's Solana, and that's just like the reality of the situation where there's a lot of hopium and a lot of like Bitcoin's the best, but then once you start to tear away from the initial value proposition, like core users aren't, dude, we're retarded, but we're not that retarded. And like that is what drives us here. So I think we're circling some of these really bullish kind of signals to get these solutions in place. But I do think, honestly, Magic Eden's approach is a short-term
Can you hear me
bullish
now?
signal for this little. Oh my God! Here he is, multi-sig's back.
That's
Yeah, we
right.
can hear you.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to continue on my thought because I think it goes against what you're currently saying. I think that,
Oh, lovely.
yeah, users that want completely trustless transactions and do peer-to-peer order book style of trading, they're completely fine to do that. I think that, there's a certain liquidity profile that comes with trading on a peer-to-peer style, and there's a different type of liquidity profile that utilizes much more deep liquidity, but people are just going to have to be comfortable with certain trust assumptions. And I think that's the point of Bitcoin, is like meeting users where they are on the trust spectrum and letting them decide how they want to utilize it. And to Farmer's earlier point, we've had, dot swap with a, fairly decent user experience in the swaps department, but albeit using a more centralized multi-sig for, the liquidity providers. I think over time, especially, and I can speak to how Saturn is ultimately built on top of Arch, but we're ultimately providing that same exact experience from the taker's perspective and from the liquidity provider's perspective, except instead of a 2 of 3 multi-sig, it's a completely decentralized, multi-sig requires majority signers of, these commercial validators to validate what the rules and enforce the rules of the smart contract. So I think that as time goes on, you're going to have more willing participants providing that liquidity because the yield opportunities to earn the fees are going to be so great, and that's going to drive more and more competition for providing that capital for being that necessary infrastructure for DeFi, and that's what
Yeah.
ultimately you're going to see.
No, I think we're on the same page. I guess what I not saying multi-sig in a negative light. It's funny just because like right now they're, these smaller multi-sig solutions, but that's effectively what a node network is, as a lot of people agreeing on it. So the more that grows, the more credibility and established this network becomes. The issue with the several multi-sig thing is it works until it doesn't. But for the spectrum, all I'm saying is, yes, we're meeting people where they're at, but we can assume if they're in Bitcoin, they lean heavier on the security side. That's kind of just rounding it off and not assuming that they're participating in Bitcoin for other reasons, because there's so many alternatives that solve all these things that we're facing, right? There's higher liquidity, faster throughput, all of these things occur, but you're sacrificing it, I guess, from an ethos and, kind of a moral standpoint, with Solana being quote unquote more centralized, although the path that they're taking is leading to a very decentralized route. But I guess I say all that to just mention, like, I think, yes, there's a spectrum of trust, but we can assume if people are participating in Bitcoin, they lean heavier on that. And once we see that true unlock, I think that's when this market expands outside of these people PvPing right now.
To be honest, like I think that sentiment is just changing rapidly over the near term, to be honest. Like we're quickly transitioning more from this laser eye maxi culture of stacking sats and just leaving them in cold storage, and becoming more and more comfortable with this yield maxi side of things. And you're seeing this, and I can draw several different data points to support this. You can look at stacks right now where you have total trust assumptions to participate in more DeFi, and yield opportunities through either Bitflow providing liquidity into a pool, or going to Zest and putting your capital to work in a money market. These are yield opportunities that you have thousands of Bitcoin native users who are participating every single day. And on another front, you have obviously this whole Babylon situation, and then all of the LSTs that have come into existence as a result of it. Why are these users participating in a Babylon staking type of yield situation if they could just participate in EigenLayer over on Ethereum, which is much more developed? I think you have a whole class of users who prefer to dabble in Bitcoin native assets and the DeFi, constructs that actually utilize them. If that was the case, like, why do any runes exist or any fungible tokens exist on Bitcoin, or any non-fungible assets exist for that matter? Because they could just easily do them on Ethereum or Solana, where there's more throughput, or better liquidity profile from a DeFi standpoint. So I think like we're moving in the right direction. It's just not happening as fast as we'd all like it to, because that has direct implications on all of our bags. But certainly there's a place for these types of things to exist here.
I think
Oh, totally.
I think
Yeah.
that's kind of like the fun part is like every single narrative that we've seen that has worked from like a multi-cycle perspective is actually coming back to Bitcoin. So you had NFTs obviously work out on every single chain. So that is a lasting narrative and theme, and ordinals traders, early mentors, and so forth did very well. And then on Ethereum, for example, you kind of had the NFT boom happening alongside of the L2 scaling boom. Just prior to that, you had the DeFi boom, which I guess kind of was the inflection point of, or the start of, NFTs on Ethereum in a lot of ways. Whereas like on Bitcoin, we have these like layered effects of like, first we have ordinals. Sure, we're a year and a half, close to 2 years into ordinals right now. Then we slowly had fungibles on Bitcoin as a narrative. Now we have viable, funny, mimetic meme coins that are gaining in value quite rapidly, bringing more people to the ecosystem. And then I think really like the last point, and I think on the Ethereum side, we kind of also seen this, where the points meta, the DeFi TVL meta, was really kind of like the I wouldn't say like the last wave or the last narrative, but certainly one where it kind of came after, simply because there was really nothing left at that point in time. You had massive
Yeah.
bubbles of meme coins and NFTs, and really the TVL games, the points games, the farming games, started to become much more apparent, simply because people were trying to generate yield on the bags that they accumulated. And we haven't necessarily seen any of that transpire on Bitcoin. So hopefully this happens with Arch. Maybe we don't need to be so rushed as to like when that happens, because we don't want to cut the meme coin era short. But I also see like Bongo in the audience, who's been kind of the champion for $1 billion cat. Yeah, Bongo, if you're available, feel free to hop on up. I know we're going to be doing a spaces with Magic Eden and Leonidas, as well as some of the other meme coin aficionados, in about 20 minutes. So we're gonna have to cut this one to I guess half-hour short. But yeah, Bongo, if you want to come on and join, or Dylan from Bitflow as well, just to jam out here, I'm happy to have you guys up here. Otherwise, anyone else that wants to join, just shoot the shit and chat about like what they're looking at. I'm happy to have you up here too.
Yeah. While we wait for that, is like one thing I think you nailed is like the slow and steady has kind of been Bitcoin's whole positioning outside of ordinals, even leading into ordinals this whole time. And I think, yes, we want all these things really quick, but I do think this pace that we're taking and the people that we're seeing adopt some of these other like alternatives are just the group of investors or that like to diversify and have seen other things explode, and they want small positions in all of these things. And I think that's the adoption that we're currently seeing. But once we get the tried and true, like bulletproof Bitcoin layer security, and when we start getting that unlock, I think, you know, if it's this year, next year, or even in 5 years from now, that's when we're going to see some really insane things occurring. But yeah, it is fun and really cool to see all these things happening, especially with like ETH being quote unquote test net for a lot of these thesis um, of what can be done with, you know, putting your capital to work in some of these different innovative ways. But the best way is making dank memes and shilling them super hard currently. And I'm here for it. But Bongo, we need to get what's next for Billy, dude. New glasses. Are we
I
gonna get
actually,
some Louis soon?
I think I actually saw someone propose a different look for the glasses, the triangle glasses to align with runes. But my perspective is don't change what's not broken. Uh, I I really just like the classic B, by the way. I want to bring Metapanda up too because he's been doing some interesting stuff around the Elu ordinals collection. For those of you that don't know, like Elu's, I mean, like Metapanda is just a massive gigabrain himself. He's been working on stuff maybe beyond just art in this space. But yeah, Metapanda, what's up?
Yo, it's good. Yeah, no, I was literally just talking to Billy today. Because like the system that we built basically allows any avatar to be plugged in. So like if you have a 3D rigged avatar, you plug it into our AI system, and then you would basically have your character live stream either on Twitter or Twitch. Where like, let's say you plug in the lore of Billy, and anyone can go and prompt that in real time, which basically creates infinite content that's like relevant to the brand, right? And obviously it's an attention economy, and if you look at Twitter, it's now a live streaming platform. The algorithm is favoring video content, and creator monetization is also getting ramped up significantly. So like 25% of the premium subscription revenue is actually going into like a creator pool. So it's just creating like the ultimate virtuous flywheel for brands, content creators, just people that want to like maximize their network and their assets. And I think that like once this goes live, obviously I'm going to be favoring the Bitcoin ecosystem over others for obvious reasons. And I think that this is just going to help solidify Bitcoin across the board with like anything that people may have doubts about. And it's just so exciting because like the system itself, like the pipeline's been in the works for like 6 years. Um, but like, our devs have like had meetings with Disney, and like the top guys at like A16Z Games are referencing companies being like the next generative AI Pixar, and like the company they mentioned is also like a company that our devs are responsible for building out like the entire back end for. So like I think we're like seeing this like basically like evolution where initially it was like Keeper bot and MEV and Telegram bots, and then semi-autonomous stuff. And like that to me is going to be like one of the biggest narratives because it's like part of everything all at once type of thesis, and obviously the content and the speed at which you can produce it is really the name of the game, whether you're an ordinals collection, a meme coin, a brand. And I think it's just going to be a paradigm shift that a lot of people may not be prepared for, but should definitely be fun.
Dude, this all sounds super interesting. Could you, like, just for me, maybe some others are more aware, but you mentioned a super cool part about like a percentage going to creators. Like, is this model existing around your collection, or is this a platform? Because when I look for a meme coin, like one thing I look for, and I think Billy did this fantastic, is on their site, they armed people with a tool to make content. And like, this is something that checks the box is like, is the project providing and is it memeable enough? I know that's a more abstract thing, but that's what we're investing in. If you're putting a few $1,000 into something or whatever, a few hundred or whatever, you know, you have to know what it's going to do. And I think you seeing it the way that you're seeing it, at least in my opinion, I think is spot on. Like if you arm people, and that's why I think IP around some things get a little blurry. And when you go more the CCO route, like pups, people don't feel scared to make insanely high quality content because there's like this weird ground in between. It's like, I own IP for it. Okay, cool. I like when you post about it, but don't get too creative because if you do, I'll sue you. And I think it's a subconscious, like back of the mind thing. And I think it's a different way of thinking of distribution. It's radically different, but it's something I'm super interested in lately. So if you can unpack that model, because I think that is super, super
Yeah, I
Right.
cool.
mean, look, I think at the end of the day, we're in this kind of like creator economy, attention economy, and memes are very much no different to that. Quite frankly, ordinals collections are no different to that as well. I think, the internet is a place where people gather and share ideas, and oftentimes become friends these days. It's quite normal to live online more and more. I think a lot of people who are heavily in the space, heavily into CT. We live online significantly more than I guess normies, so kind of makes us strange in a lot of ways where we don't touch grass enough. But yeah, I think what Metapanda is doing is really awesome. Where he's kind of interfacing, content creation tools, AI tools, graphic generation tools to really, I would say, make it easy to create content around your internet persona, online persona, ordinal collection, what have you. I think in a lot of ways, PFPs are just an online representation of what we want to project and be our most authentic selves. And by having the ability to personify ourselves and not necessarily be ourselves and keep our IRL self kind of separate from our internet self, both for privacy reasons and anonymity reasons, and even just general reasons to empower yourself to be more authentic than someone that has to bear the grunt of, maybe this comes back, or maybe this doesn't look great, or maybe this pisses off my employer. And it just truly allows you to be unfiltered when you're kind of, in a lot of ways, like hiding behind an identity within a community, I suppose. But yeah, Panda, yeah, I think I really like your approach to this. You're obviously deeply passionate in content creation, visual art generative tools, and so forth. I don't even know how I would. Yeah, I think just talking to you was definitely like the first foray of me understanding what this like CGI element of the world really is. But you're obviously deeply passionate about it, which is always awesome to see. But yeah, curious, like, so you guys are also thinking about this from like a Billy perspective, or is that
Yeah,
what you?
like I mean, so Bunty mentioned like rev share. Like I was talking specifically about like the Twitter company basically providing rev share or using their revenue to like fund their creators, similar to like what YouTube does. But yeah, I mean, I think for the system that we built, we want it to basically kick off like this new meta, this new narrative like that extends beyond crypto, where it's like you have a brand, you have social media, and then you have to like hire someone to create content, and like things just move way too fast. And that's why you see traditional top text, bottom text type stuff is because you know by the time you create a meme, it's already on to the next psyop. So, this basically is hyper real time. And, we want to extend that to like anyone that wants to further their brand and, just add that to their arsenal. Cause I think that's a no brainer for anyone that wants to build, like videos of future and not even just video, but like live streaming and the content you see now, it'll usually have like three elements that will keep your attention, because like if it's just one thing, you're like, oh, I could scroll my phone and also watch this. If it's two things, it gets a little harder. So like, there's a whole psychology behind this. And if you consider like the new generations, they're just glued to their devices and screen time is up only, like it's just part of like generation moonshot, right? It's like that's
Dude, yeah, so like I definitely want to chat more about this with you because I agree. Like this model is proven with these billion-dollar companies like, excuse me, like Facebook, Meta or whatever now, Twitter and YouTube. But that's why DAOs have struggled, and that's why proof of work like works because it's just math. It's very binary, but the creator side is very abstract, and one thing doesn't equal the other. But the one thing that the block is distribution, and that's what is like makes all this possible. And with the advent of AI, like I think the way every industry is going to look at distribution is going to radically change because they're going to try to bring this IP and this traditional way of thinking into it, and it's going to slug it down. And people like yourself that are thinking, from what it sounds like, looking at it from a completely different angle, not taking this current ecosystem that I think is just not meant to scale. Like it just, I don't believe it is, especially when we start using these augmented reality glasses and like people trying to restrict people from sharing digital images that can go one time or a trillion times. It's not the same. But how do you plan on addressing like the fairness and incentive like outside of the distribution numbers? Because I feel like that is the missing piece. Because yes, you can vote on things and DAOs are great and people can vote on how much it's worth, but what is your thinking around that to get the flywheel going and incentivize the right pieces that make it go?
Well, I mean, from day zero, like anyone was able to download, their 3D rigged asset. They had the rights. Now we're providing like motion capture tools where you can live stream as the character with just a webcam or your iPhone. And then after that, the AI system will roll out. And, you know, I've never seen like any opportunity like that in the history of computers where someone gave that much to, a content creator or a studio to like ultimately leverage. And um I think once people start like seeing, oh hey, this guy created an account, started streaming, started creating content, now he's monetized, now he has a brand, and he's getting airdropped or consultant opportunities, and like all these different avenues basically like are unlocked, whereas with like static 2D PFPs it's very difficult. You'd have to like put in a ton of time and resources to get anywhere close to like a point of creation. Um, so I think the
Yeah,
incentive is really, people that want to like decouple from these assets just being like viewed as a financial instrument and like actually having sovereignty and having, another revenue stream and something to fall back on where maybe you exit on the asset itself and the audience and the accounts as opposed to like, hey, I like sold the top of this ordinal. I think that that's a very short-term mindset. So like, we've never really had this opportunity in the history of any chain where, everyone had everything like laid out. I mean, even just from a meme side, you know, no one has more memes than us on Bitcoin. Like, I checked like Meme Depot, we have like double, we have like 5,200 on there. And like there's a lot more, but like if this were a rune, for example, it would just be dominating like the content sphere like by a wide margin. So once you add the AI system to it, it's gonna be very hard for anyone else to like come close.
yeah, that's like it's refreshing to hear that perspective from an ownership because I don't know, I got a little bit bearish on some projects leading with IP, but I think the unlock here is what Farmer was saying is like there is like a huge gap of like people wanting to put themselves on the internet. And if you like fit that with something like what you're working on, that unlocks. And then when you arm people to make your distribution lanes easier to promote and push, that's why I'm like a huge fan of CC0 because it's like you're just arming people to and all roads lead back to the original. Banksy puts his work on walls that people like in all these different areas, but he's able to any kind of rip off of him just promotes him even more. And I just think it's an interesting way of thinking. And I know we got to wrap up here soon because there's another rune space. But yeah, man, it's exciting because I remember chatting with you, maybe even a few years back now, and I know how long this has been in the works. And yeah, really stoked to hear that you're still working on it. It's kind of the same approach with me with OmniSat. It's like I don't feel like we're boasting about it on the timeline until we have the thing working, while other teams are taking the other approach, trying to build the hype. And I believe in this atmosphere, setting expectations and hyping a product leads to a very tough release. And yeah, man, stoked to hear you're still
Definitely,
cracking.
bro. Yeah, we'll do a call. I'll give you like a demo of like, what we have. And yeah, dude, I'm super excited for this ecosystem. Like, anyone that's looking for more conviction, like I don't really know what to tell you, but it's an incredible time in history.
No doubt, dude. Yeah, and pandas are fucking lit. Like, dude, bamboo's amazing. Can make so much cool stuff out of it. Talk about infrastructure. But yeah, no, Farmer, I'll let you wrap it up. I don't know too much about the next space. All I know is the alpha is meme coins that arm their community with tools like Billy did is a no-brainer. And those libraries are available. So if you're launching a meme coin, like I think Shopify even has a open source library of where you can kind of drag images on top of them, where you upload all the layers. There's another open source library. If you're dropping a meme coin, build a site with that. I'll buy it because that is a bull signal to me. If you're arming through your site, just dank memes. But that's the hard part is making the dank
Yeah,
memes.
no.
So that works on you.
The puppets community are the best memesters. I'm obviously very biased, but I think in a lot of ways, I think people would agree that they're the funniest things on CT and on Bitcoin, in, I guess, forever, really. But the creator tools, we'll certainly have to lean into, arming people with whether they want to wear a pups hat, a blue background. I don't know if that's if that's a thing or anything like that, or just make it easier to make memes. There's a lot of people that are just naturally meming as content creators, but I think when you give the tools to the public to become visual creators and not just text-based creators by being funny or just retarded in a lot of ways online, that to me is like a much bigger unlock both on the intention side and on the community building side. Yeah, so with that, the alpha is certainly like memes with creator tools, memes with visual tools, memes that empower their users to become content creators as an army. Other than that, stay tuned for the next show where we kind of get into the weeds of other things that are happening on the Bitcoin space. Right now, all attention focused on runes, but I'm sure that that's not the only thing we'll care about over the next couple months. So yeah, Bunsey, ready to wrap this up and see you guys next Tuesday. Bunsey, outro, sir.
Yo, I lost connection. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're still good. If you want to play an
You're gonna
outro
have to
song.
wrap it up. I can't hear you.
Oh,
But I can play an AI song,
all right.
maybe. But fuck. It's been real, folks. If you can hear me, got an AI song. No, it's not gonna play. We'll catch you next week. Sorry, guys. Peace.